Hello. Hi. All right, Cynthia. And we are discussing episode 4.
Yep, we're back. We're in separate places, but we're back.
All right, there are 10 women left, which seems like really quick that there's only 10 left. But Jesse comes in, says something like, oh, you're not going to see Grant, or there's no date, or something like that. And find out they're going to Madrid. Tells the ladies they have 1 hour to get ready. Is that true? Do you think they really have 1 hour to fly internationally, pack, and get their shit together? I'm really curious if you think that's true. Doesn't seem like that's possible.
Actually, just to back up a second, we actually open with the girls whining about prom. I think I felt that this cast is slightly older and that there would be like a little less whining and drama, but no, everyone is mad about everything. And that's just the way this show goes, I guess. Okay, so we are leaving LA. No way the plane, no way the plane leaves in 1 hour because they are in not LA proper even. It wouldn't, even if they were in LA proper, they wouldn't be at the airport in an hour. If you ever been to LAX, it's like they are in Kim Kardashian country, AKA Calabasas, and LAX is kind of far from Calabasas. So my guess is that they are leaving the next day. Of course, then I started thinking, do they fly them business or do they fly them coach? Did a little internet digging. Looks like they just go coach. That kind of sucks for them.
So they find out that Dina has the first one-on-one in Madrid.
Yeah, so they get told they're going to Madrid. And as I was watching this, I was thinking, if you were one of these women, where would you like to go? Kind of anywhere in the world. Maybe it's Madrid, maybe it's Cleveland, right? We've seen Cleveland in previous episodes, but I just want to say I think I'd like to go to Africa. I'd like to go someplace that they haven't been yet. Going to another European city like this, and it's beautiful, it's wonderful. I love Spain, but I don't know. It just seems kind of boring. And I want to point out, when we first see the women in Spain, they are sitting around a table and they are drinking the mimosa of Spain, which is sangria. Yes, so Dina gets chosen for the one-on-one. It's a live like the locals date. And before she leaves, she says this to the women. She goes, I'll miss you guys. And it's like, really? It's a competition, not a friendship competition. It is a romantic competition with these other women. And are you really going to miss them? Maybe she is. Maybe this was the appropriate thing to say.
He comes up and he takes Dina out, and they start walking through the streets of Madrid. And the first thing is there are kids playing soccer. Amy doesn't like the kid dates. So I'm curious, Amy, what you thought about that.
I mean, I guess a soccer date is fine. The children are such overkill, but
I don't mind a kid date, but 2 dates a season with kids, I don't really think that's necessary. But during the course of this date, Dina says that she thinks that
feelings make you weak.
And that she considers herself an ice queen, and she's been called an ice queen by many people. Like, red flag? She already told us she doesn't feel like she's creative. Now she's telling us that feelings make you weak and she's an ice queen.
Yeah, she does this twice.
I don't think that's a great sign.
Red flag, not a great sign.
They seem like they get on okay, but I'm not feeling sparks flying. They go to this one little area where it's one of those places you make a wish and you write down your wish, and they hang it up.
Okay, question. What happens to those 10,000 pieces of paper that are pinned to the outside of the building when it rains? I think the shop person stands outside and pins a 10,001st pieces of paper and just says, wish it wasn't raining. I thought that was a pretty good joke, but you can't laugh.
So they both do that, and then they both read each other their wish. And they both basically have the same thing, which is to get married, find the love of their life, and have kids. And they both act like they're shocked that they wrote the same thing. Hello, you're on a dating show to meet your possible spouse. It's really not that shocking that you both had the same wish. I mean, come on. All right. Then they go on a canoe ride. And again, she brings up being an ice queen. She says that she's very diligent, that she's regimented, And she said it's because she's one of 11 children, which holy shit. Like I can't even imagine what that would be like having 11 brothers and sisters.
So I just want to be clear here. Are you telling me that you're not having 10 more children?
I can't believe a woman did that. Like that to me is nuts.
So then they go sit down to dinner, and Peter said to me, which I thought was very funny, of all of the famous world-class restaurants that are in Madrid, they get food from craft services. And they seem perfectly satisfied. And then she asked Grant a question.
So she asked Grant about a 7-year relationship he has had. I don't remember him talking about that before. 7 years is a long time. And he says that basically it's because he was so focused on work that he didn't focus enough on the relationship. And it seems like she's like, yeah, I'm down for that because I understand that. Very work oriented, which is fine, but I didn't see a lot of sparks.
I hate this date. Both are self-described givers, which is my least favorite type of person. It reminds me of someone, you know, like if you're in a job interview and you ask someone what their worst quality is and they just say, I'm just too generous. I'm too kind. I do too much for other people. It's so obnoxious.
She gets the rose. I wasn't surprised. It wasn't like it was a bad date, but eh.
And then Dina says that men are intimidated by her, which is maybe why she hasn't dated in a while. And it's like, I don't think they're intimidated. I think they're bored. One last thing. I do wish that Peter was like Grant. You know, Grant who says, I just want to provide and take care of you. But instead, Peter's like, bitch, you got to go out and make some money and get a job. Also, one of them says that Madrid is the city of love, but whoever said that got their major European cities confused because Paris is the city of love. Come on, guys. Then we see the women together again, and everyone has turned on Carolina because
Carolina decides to tell the group she's not excited about the group date. And basically, oh, if I'm lucky, maybe someone will kiss him in front of me. It's like, okay, well, you did that. So hello. And again, I feel like this season more than ever, I want to say, hello, has anyone ever watched the show? They're just saying stuff that's like, I can't believe that you're saying this. Did you not watch it? It's a little nutsos. And Carolyn is just like, she has lost me. I feel like every date. And I kind of was defending her for a little bit, but now, okay, but we'll get more into that. So they go on a group date, and it is Parisa, Alex, Natalie, the blonde, Amy, Rose, Carolina, Zoe, Juliana, and Latia.
yes, and the date is entitled Love is a Wild Ride. So I think, oh, great, here we are. We're horseback riding again. So then we see when Serafina doesn't get picked for the group date, we know that she's going to get the one-on-one, and she says, well, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. And it's like, yes, Serafina, that's correct. You are not in Madrid because you booked a vacation here. You are in Madrid because you are in a reality television show where the star of the show is Grant, and that's why you were here. I just thought that was really like a funny thing to say.
It starts off with Parisa. It's pretty funny, actually. She says that she was having a bad day because she woke up with a pimple and she burnt her chest with a curling iron, which I don't know how she did that unless she dropped it.
Totally.
She's like, I didn't know a spray tan could crack. I'm like, I didn't know that either. I've only done that twice, but I guess I didn't drop a curling on myself, so I didn't realize it could crack. So that was pretty funny.
Tough day.
And then they end up going on basically a donkey ride.
Yep, a donkey ride, which I am saying is a solid downgrade from horseback riding. And as an aside, no horseback riding or donkey back riding for me. You can't face the person. You can't talk. It's a terrible date.
And everyone's making the best of it, and everyone's having a good time. And then there's Carolina frowning. Her donkey was being an ass, as she said, and was kind of far behind everyone else. Oh, and Parisa's donkey kept farting, which was hilarious. I mean, that thing was pretty gassy. So again, she's just kind of being a Debbie Downer. And then they go to a bullfight arena, and they practice waving the cape, and Grant comes running with a wheelbarrow has a bull head in.
Yep, Grant plays the bull. These wheels are very different from his Ferrari.
They practice that, and who was it? Someone decides to get smart about it. I think it was Latia. And she goes, oh, you got stuck. And she gives him a kiss. Like very quick, nothing much. Carolina did not like that. But it was like a peck at best. It wasn't disrespectful. She wasn't grinding on him like Carolina was. And then Jesse Palmer comes back and said, all right, who likes a competition? And everyone claps. And of course, Zoe, who I think is very competitive, was like, woo! She seemed the most excited about a competition. And Jesse says, oh, we've gathered quite an audience. And they pan to the crowd, and it's maybe 10 people at best, spread out. So I was like, oh, yeah, that's quite an audience you gathered there. They have everyone get in Matador costumes, which look like really bad Party City or what's that, Halloween store kind of Matador stuff. It looked really cheap.
Their outfits are so cheap.
And they do a big reveal, and it's a mechanical bull.
Right. And then of course, we see that it's not real bullfighting. They're just riding a mechanical bull. You can do this on Sunset Boulevard. I'm just not sure why they needed to go to Spain to do this.
So Juliana's the first one on. She's like, oh, come on, Pilates. Let's get these inner thighs working. And she holds on for 18 seconds, which almost to the very end, they show everyone else flying off in 2, 4, 8 seconds. Then Alex gets on and she decides she wraps her arms around and holds the bull, and she stays on for 18 seconds. Very smart.
Yeah, Alex is face down, ass up.
First one to do it. And then Zoe comes after her. She sees this. She adopts the technique, which why wouldn't you? Sucks for Alex, because if Zoe had gone first, she might not have thought about it. Although Zoe did take wrestling, so she might have realized that on her own.
But I think you're right. I think Zoe actually would have done this anyway because she has this history with wrestling.
And she ends up staying on for 47 seconds.
She has to be car sick.
So, Amy, have you ever done any kind of mechanical bull riding or anything like that? I never have.
I can't believe that you never did that up at that place on Sunset. Was it called The Saddle? I think it's still there because I think I just saw it in another reality show the other day. Oh, you know where I saw it when I was watching Sex and the City. And I mean, this was 20 years ago, but the women go there on the LA trip. They go to this, I think it was called The Saddle. I just want to say that you cannot do this on The Golden Bachelor. Someone is going to get a slip disc. This is something I have never done. I would not be interested in doing it. I do not want to hurt myself. I do not need eternal back pain because I decided to get drunk on a mechanical bull at The Saddle.
Zoe gets to have a little more one-on-one time with Grant. And again, they show them on top of some building and kind of having this awkward, not lackluster conversation. It seemed kind of stiff.
This conversation is so boring. It is just as boring as the last time they went up on the last rooftop. I just think we should avoid rooftops altogether in the future on The Bachelor. So then they go to the after the date cocktail party.
Carolina is wearing this god-awful black dress with these big pink ruffles with black gloves that look at some points like they're too long for her fingers. Not a good look.
Yeah. When did gloves become a thing? I think Kim Kardashian brought them back with her head-to-toe spandex suits. Carolina is totally not pulling off the black glove, hot pink dress thing.
Then Grant pulls Paretha to talk to her, and she collects rocks. So he gives her a surprise. He's like, oh, I have a surprise for you. I was thinking of you. And he gives her these 2 rocks. These rocks look like something he picked up in the front yard.
Oh my God, yeah. Grant actually says these rocks were imported from Spain, but they are in Spain. So how could they be imported?
I mean, I guess it's nice that he thought of her and he knew she liked rocks, but they weren't impressive rocks as far as how impressive rocks can be. I don't know. I'm not into rocks, but she liked the gesture. It was sweet. And then he pulls Rose.
I am not a fan of Rose.
Rose is just, yeah, and she starts spiraling, but she hasn't completely yet. But they talk about how can they bounce back from where they were.
And by bounce back from where they were, Rose means bounce back from her blatantly lying to Carolina. Rose says specifically, we had our hard times. And it's like, yeah, you lied and are gaslighting Carolina. That's your hard time.
Rose is just blaming Carolina for everything. And Carolina, she's a shit. But Rose is the one who decided to tell her this thing that apparently Grant said, which Grant is saying he didn't, and I tend to believe him. And so that's on her. It's not on Carolina. And her and everyone is blaming Carolina for that, which I think is bullshit. Rose has to take some responsibility for that.
Correct. Rose lied to Carolina and said that she's mad because Carolina said bad things to her about Grant. She lied. What is wrong with Rose, and why is Grant putting up with this shit?
Anyways, so Carolyn decides again to say to everybody that she has mixed emotions and she doesn't have all the answers, that she's not sure how she could end up engaged after one date after all of this. Basically just doubting the whole process.
And she doesn't feel like she knows him, and she's saying ridiculous things to the women.
Again, know your audience. Like, keep that to yourself. You don't know these women. You know they already are annoyed with you. They haven't even had a date. I mean, come on.
She likes him, but barely knows him. And I mean, it's hard to disagree with her, but the whole point is that you figure that out. That's what the show is for.
So Juliana decides, okay, I'm going to pull her.
Then Juliana pulls her aside, and Carolina goes, okay, so what's your question? And Juliana's just like, this isn't settling well with me.
She says to her, hey, listen, Carolina, you've been very vocal about your doubts and insecurities, and it's kind of left a sour taste for everyone else. Carolina says, well, you know, what makes it your place to bring it up to me? And Juliana's, well, because we're all in this process together. So I'm curious, Amy, do you think that Juliana, like, how do you feel about her talking to Carolina and pulling her? Because I can see her point. Like, she's living with her. She's listening to this shit every day. Carolina doesn't have to share all these feelings with him every day.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. One of my least favorite sayings is, that is my truth. It's like, okay, well, that's your truth. But what is the actual truth? Can you find that out, Juliana and Carolina? The truth is that Rose is a liar, as we mentioned earlier. But never a good idea for one girl to call another girl out for saying anything on this show. It just always backfires.
They both return to the room.
And Carolina says to all of the girls, you know, I had one date, but I'm thinking of introducing him to my parents. That's insane. And it's like, yeah, that's the show. And this ganging up on Carolina totally backfires with the other girls because she starts crying and Grant pulls her aside to check on her.
Carolina says, hey, basically, Juliana is saying that what I have to say isn't flying with everybody. If it doesn't, then you could bring your concerns to me. I'm all ears. And Rose says very, very slowly, negativity has been a common theme, and it's hard for all of us who are trying to be positive to hear. It's like she's stoned. Is Rose stoned? I almost feel like she's stoned through most of this. It's odd.
Well, I mean, she may be stoned, but she's also just high on her own self-righteousness.
Grant walks in while Carolina's crying. He pulls Carolina to talk to her and find out what's going on. After Grant pulls Carolina when she's crying, she tells him what Juliana says and that she's being negative, and I feel like it's a little twisted from what she actually said to her. And Grant says that, you know, to stop focusing on everyone else.
This is good advice, because once any of the cast members get focused on the other cast members, it becomes a disaster.
Serafina goes on her one-on-one date, and this time they go bungee jumping.
Yeah, Peter says they have not done one cool thing since they've been in Spain.
If it was a bungee jumping date, what would you do it? What would you do? Because that's so not up your alley.
No, I would not bungee jump. And quite frankly, I'm tired of the bungee jumping dates. It's not interesting. Graham already jumped off this strat in Vegas at 800 feet, but I don't know, what's the new angle here that they're going feet first instead of chest first? It's just boring. The only thing that we get is that it's raining.
This time, it's not like that slow kind of thing. It is a true bungee jump, and it's raining. And Grant was really nervous. His best to hide it, but it was funny. He brought up death certificate. Have you ever done this in the rain? And the woman was a little flippant and like, oh, once or twice. Yeah, usually it should be safe. So they attach them together and they do the bungee jump and they kiss afterwards. Then they go to have their dinner. And at one point, Grant says to her, you know, I had a really good time with you, but I do feel like you're still holding back a little bit. And is that because you have reservations or something like that? And she says, no, it's because my mom's watching. And I thought that was really cute. And I think he really appreciated her honesty in saying that too. He gave a laugh. And at the end of the night, they kiss again. And she just pulls away and she said, looks at Cameron. She goes, sorry, Mom. And they laugh again.
That part was endearing. But again, you want to be at the end of this. You have to forget about your mom.
She could be a dark horse, like a slow burn relationship. I think he even says that. So curious what your thoughts are, Amy, about Serafina. She seems a little low energy, but maybe that's good for him.
I have nothing to say about this date. Boring AF. Grant feels a connection, and I mean, I'm glad to hear it because I don't feel any connection between them. I don't know. I'm starting to think that maybe that's a good thing that I'm bored because maybe Grant actually likes her. You know, there's no drama llama here.
Grant pulls Carolina and she says, well, I'm struggling with the process. And she kind of sets the record a little bit straight. Doesn't sound like it's more like, yeah, it's a tough process. I go on one date with you. I see you date other people. We're going to get married after this. And so, yeah, I'm struggling. And I feel like that's more natural to say that I am.
Yeah, but also that's the game of this. It's a game. It is not so different from claim to fame. You know, you have to play it.
And Grant gives her really good advice. And he said, yeah, but you should be only coming to me to have those conversations. And we can figure it out together. And I was like, yes. So I was really happy that he said that. I felt that was really grounded, good advice. We'll see what Carolina does with it. Because if you see the trailer for the next episode, and I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, you know, I usually do not like to watch the trailer, but Carolina is about to lose her mind again, so I watched it.
Everyone's just over how much attention she's getting with all of her shit. Dina does say to her after their conversation, when she comes back to the couch, Dina does say, hey, you know what? I understand what you're saying. I hear you. I see you. And you're not saying you're not grateful to be here and have a date. You're saying it's hard because you had that date and now you're watching him have connections with other people. Really nice. It means a lot to Carolina. And then Rose just fails to see any of her responsibility and accountability for what she did, which was telling Carolina what she thought Grant said to her. It started a little bit of the shitstorm. And they're sitting on the couch and she's like, you did me dirty.
The you did me dirty thing was like out of a horror movie. It was like red rum. She is crazy. This whole thing is her fault.
She spirals. And I think she's spiraling because she knows what she did on some level was shitty.
Yes, she's taking no responsibility for her actions. And she's going to regret this and after the final rose.
So she cuts herself out instead of having to deal with the fact she did something that maybe was a little shitty. And she's, I think, actually kind of embarrassed about it or something. I don't know. What do you think?
Rose has lost her mind. She says she was backstabbed. Rose lied to Carolina for the 100th time.
So Rose goes and Parisa and Natalie. I wasn't shocked by them going home.
No, none of these are shocking.
I enjoyed Parisa. I kind of I was kind of getting to like her.
Parisa had the best post-Rose ceremony confessional. She says she didn't see it coming. And I understand that because Grant had just given her 2 rocks. One could see that those were maybe a gift for her to stay, something to think about him, but it turns out that they were just souvenirs by Parisa. She says that she thinks the reason she's going home is because she talked about rocks too much, but what I want to remind her that the real reason she's going home is because all of the women leave except one. It's the same every season, ladies.
I also thought she seemed like a really grounded, great woman.
I am not joking. When he didn't call Natalie's name out and I was looking to see who was left and I saw her standing up there and I go, who's that?
Carolina, at this point, I just wish she would go away. She is demanding all the time and it's enough. Like I don't need to hear her talk anymore. This season I feel like there's been more people surprises in a way of who's gone home when they went home. Latia really so far is the only person where I feel like I see the strongest connection with.
But they still have not had the Mormon conversation. Is she waiting for the fantasy suites when her panties are around her ankles? Like, when is this Mormon conversation happening?
So it's going to be interesting.
Maybe Carolina will go home next week, and if she does, the drama I'm sure will find its way back onto the show with another villain.
Have fun editing this. I love you.
Love you too.